Wonder, which is based on a book. I saw this. It was directed by Stephen Chbosky. The book was written by, let me tell you who wrote the book, based on the novel. R.J. Palacio wrote the novel. You know, it's a really touching story. It's based on a true story, and it's about, you know, a kid that's born with a condition to where all of the bones and
Treacher-Collins syndrome.
Right. And so it's you don't have, if I understand this correctly, because I saw an interview with it, it's like all of the bone structure that a normal skull would have, yours doesn't have.
Wait, there's no bone structure like in your face?
It's missing. You're missing some of it.
Okay.
Or something like that, I believe.
I've never heard of it.
So you have to get all these surgeries. So they hired a kid that has this syndrome. The actor. Cool. So it was like, I mean, this kid understands. I mean, the movie's all about this kid, and he's being homeschooled, and now it's time to take him to a regular school.
Right.
And of course, he's getting teased and all this other stuff. So there's some powerful scenes, and then it's really well written because it talks about.
You said they hired a kid like to be on set?
No, the lead actor.
I think it's Jacob Tremblay from The Room.
Right?
Who plays Augie. Because his family went to the Children's Craniofacial Association retreat where Jacob got to meet and befriend children with Treacher-Collins syndrome. The same syndrome that Augie has, the character. But I think Jacob Tremblay, the actor, was from The Room. I don't think he has the actual disease.
Wow. Well, that's amazing to me then, because I thought they hired an actual kid that had that.
Can you look at that?
I really think they hired
Isn't that the kid from The Room, Jacob Tremblay?
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah.
All right. Let me look up Jacob Tremblay. Yeah, there he is. The kid from The Room, and they did prosthetics on him. Okay. Well, blew me away. The kid did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And I thought they hired.
He's a great actor.
Like
He's
really
a great
is.
Young actor.
That blew me away because there's amazing scenes in there where his oldest sister, and there's a great dynamic in there. Julia Roberts and Owen Wilson play the parents, and you see how they are torn by this. You also see how the daughter gets neglected because it's all about this kid. He's always in the hospital. There's a health issue, and then.
Right, and the other kid can't even be like, well, what about me? Because, like, you're healthy, you know?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting dilemma that they cover in the film, and it's handled really well. And the girl that plays his sister, you know, and she's just like, well, she's just always got to put on the brave face and do this. But then she's like,
she has a brave face, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, that's it. But that's the thing. She can't. It's very true, though. She's literally. Anytime she wants to go, well, what about me? She has to say to herself, no.
Right.
Because I'm not going through what my brother went through.
Right.
And there's a scene where she comes home and she's like, and she has to say to her brother sometimes, you know, she's still a high school kid and he's 10 or whatever. So there's still a big sister, younger brother dynamic where she's like, everything's not all about you, Augie, you know? And there's also a scene where she's like, I had a bad day at school too. And she explains it, and he goes, really? And he's like in tears. He's like, did people shy away from you? Are people afraid to touch you because they think they're going to get your disease? Does that happen to you? And she just has to sit there and go, nope, it doesn't. You know, and so it's really powerful. There's some, you know,
Hollywoody moments.
Hollywoody, you know, the bully kids. I feel like they just have like on a computer somewhere just bully kid dialogue, and then it was, you know, it was like written in 1978, you know, and they just
it's a search and replace.
Hey, what are you doing here, weirdo? You know, like that's like, are they still bullying like they did back?
Give me your lunch money.
Hey, what are you doing here, huh? What are you doing with your girlfriend? I just like, oh my God. So there was a couple scenes where I was just like, this feels like that. Like just Hollywood, this two-dimensional dialogue character gets this unfleshed out, you know, side character.
Now, I will say this is really interesting. The author, R.J. Palacio, got the inspiration to write the book After taking her son out for ice cream where they saw a child with Treacher-Collins syndrome, her son cried at the sight of this boy. This story is used in a scene from the film where Jack Will's mother is reminding him why it's important to make Augie feel welcome.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that just like an experience like that inspired the book, and now we're watching a movie with Julia Roberts about it, just from literally her taking her son to ice cream.
Yeah,
that is pretty amazing.
It is cool, and it's it's a wonderful story about acceptance and all of that, and there's really good side characters in it. Like I said, there's a couple little cheesy Hollywood moments, but you're like, all right, it's sort of a kid's family story. They're going to put that in there.
I heard the book's really good. Like, my daughter loved the book. So
I'd love to read the book because I feel like it was a decent adaptation. You
right?
know what I mean?
What's the name of the book?
Wonder.
It's the
Wonder. Same
thing.
title. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a really wonderful, touching story, and it's very it's gonna.
It's a family movie too. Like, it's something you could bring your kids to.
And you're gonna cry.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
And especially if your kids have a really great life and like they've never had to experience anything terrible. Like, my mom was disabled, and so we grew up. You can't complain about anything because, you're just like, oh, someone hit my car and I have to replace my taillight. She's like, oh, were you run over? Do your legs work? And you're like, okay, I'll stop bitching, like, okay, fine. So, like, I totally get this older sister because, like, that was basically all my mom's children. We weren't allowed to complain about anything. Nothing was ever as bad as what she went through. So it just was sort of like negates all of your negative feelings in life. And basically it's just like you have to be happy and positive. Otherwise, you don't appreciate what you have. It's like impossible to have a bad day. But obviously you have bad days. So.
But then, so how did that for you though? So how does that? Do you look at that and say, I'm glad that was my experience, or is there any sort of like that was unfair, or do you?
No, I mean, it's less about the accident and the disability as it was the effects of the accident and the disability. So like. The actual, like, I can picture this girl, like, she's not mad at the disability. She's mad at the outcome of what happens to everyone else around the disability, right? That's how, basically, my mom became a drug addict. Yeah, because a little crippled lady walks into the doctor's office and says, I need some pain pills. And so nobody's going to deny her. No one, not one person had, for decades, denied her. And so you kind of grow up with like like there are some things I'm grateful for. I always park far away at the grocery store, because like I'm very kind to old women. Like they lived a long time. They have a tough life. They should park closer. But I mean, and that's just one little example in life out of many, many things. But like it does teach you that whatever you're going through really isn't that bad, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like I can complain, but it's like it is true my legs work and they look pretty nice. So
yeah.
I can do a ton of squats.
Yeah, and you're not addicted to pain pills.
And I refuse to I haven't taken any sort of pain medication since 2001 after a surgery because I refuse. So it's just one of those things. Yeah, you either become your parents or you become the opposite of your parents, right? I became the opposite. So people are like, why are you so nice? I'm like, I'm not like my mom. She's a bitch. But you can't tell people that because she's disabled and they'll think you're the one being mean.
Right.
So I can see you can't treat Augie badly because you're like, he's already got this thing,
Right.
Like, but it is a sort of there's a place where it makes you a little lonely because half of your feelings are negated.
That's a real.
Your experiences, no matter.
What the sister was probably showing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, your experiences are negated because what you're going through isn't as terrible.
Right.
We have to focus on getting this kid well, It's just like, have you seen that movie? I don't remember the name of it. I saw it on an airplane flight once, but it was about this family, and they had 3 kids. The first kid had leukemia, and they had 2 more kids to try to find cures for the first kid.
Oh,
And then the youngest kid, a girl who's a match for the older girl, and has been used as basically her sister's lifeline and donor her whole life, goes to a lawyer with this cash that her brother saved up and like sues the parents and says, I don't want to be the donor anymore. Like I don't have my own life. I exist to keep this other person alive.
Sounds like an airplane movie.
It does. I was crying when I got to my destination. I was like, oh, this is terrible. Oh, I don't want our kids get cancer.
All right.